Hi everyone. This is a presentation on developing an appropriate pricing model and techno-economic analysis of peer-to-peer energy trading within microgrid. I, Kisan Mahajan, with my friends Fahim Muntasir and Anushil Zapagar would like to thank our project supervisor Dr. Mohsin Jamil for providing this opportunity to work on this interesting project. Starting with the outline of this presentation, we would like to start with the problem statement and transactive energy being a best solution for the discussed problem. And there will be a brief introduction of peer-to-peer energy trading and what benefits come along with it. Demonstration of pricing strategy will be done that has been formulated, and a case will be studied for the analysis of the effectiveness of the peer-to-peer energy trading by checking the impact of this method in the electricity bill. Description of algorithms will be put forward, followed by the conclusion and future works. So the problem statement. We all know about global warming and climate change, and if we don't do something soon, we will continue to have major environmental problems. And we also know that 45% and 28% of Canada's greenhouse gas emissions are produced by the burning of fuels and transportation sectors, respectively. So the solution might be simply switching to solar energy, storing that energy in some batteries, and using EV vehicles. But this doesn't look as simple as we think. Connecting all of these devices to the utility grid will bring lots of issues and overload the grid. On this hourly consumption graph at the right side, we can see the higher peak demand during the night time. And to handle this peak demand, we'll need billions of dollars to operate the utility grid, which is currently not possible. So the solution for this problem will be concepts like transactive energy, which rely on shifting the loads of the consumers to avoid overloading the grid at peak demand. And we can gamify the whole thing to peer-to-peer energy trading, which will enable the consumers to buy the energy from local renewable energy generators. Now, what is peer-to-peer energy trading? This is the platform created between the distributed energy generators, which are also called prosumers, and the consumers, which enables sharing of electricity among these peers. Prosumers can sell the energy that has been surplus after meeting their energy demand to other peers in the network and providing the monetary benefits to the prosumers from the renewable energy. On the other hand, it allows consumers to choose from the prosumers from whom they buy energy in low price which will be below that of the utility grid. This concept increases the utilization of the local renewable energy and reduces peak demand. However, there is a problem of trusting the system in its security of data. That's where blockchain come in, which maintains checks and balances of transactions and provides security to the shared ledger of transactions. The objectives of this project is to propose a model of P2P energy trading between two prosumers and two consumers. Formation of pricing strategy to show the benefits to prosumers and consumers. This pricing strategy will be implemented taking consideration of a case study in some of the residents of Dhaka, Bangladesh, and a comparison will be done in the electricity bills before and after the implementation of P2P trading, and this exchange will be monitored by third-party regulator.
Hello everyone, my name is Anushil. I will be presenting you about the architecture of peer-to-peer energy trading model. This model is designed focusing on how we can enhance the utilization and mobility of the transactive energy that's being produced at the community level. Since um, we have seen that the rise of the distributed energy resources are actually real. Like people have really started preferring the uh, distributed energy resources, and this has created an opportunity to look upon the uh, surplus energy that's not being utilized as precisely as it should be. So we we are actually trying to tackle that opportunity. So this model is basically the backend architecture of the smart grid system, and the front end side or the actual smart grid hardware, it's supposed to be designed and modeled in the upcoming 990p part. So, but for now, for this model, there are three layers that's interdependent to each other, and those three layers are registration layer, matchmaking layer, and the pricing layer. So talking about the registration layer, it's a simple layer that runs on the backend side of the smart grid hardware. So basically, it asks for the participants who are willing to take part in the energy trade of their certain information like geographical coordinates, their the registration layer shall make a request to them for the access of the smart meter, because it's from where we are actually getting the real-time data of the energy generation and the consumption, right? And also the registration layer makes sure that the proper consent is made between the participant and the P2P model in terms of uh, different legal declarations that is associated while trading the energy between peer to peer. After that, this registration layer shall create a unique digital identifier of that particular participant, which shall be circulated throughout the smart grid system in order to track their behavior in the energy market. So after collecting all of the required information, it shall make a connection to the peer-to-peer database, and it shall fetch all of the information to that database, which is further used by another tool here um, in order to make a proper decision and to execute different kind of logic. So after the registration layer, we are actually looking at the matchmaking layer. So uh, in order to see and study the behavior of the participants, we actually made a prototype of three energy trading participants, where two of them are the prosumers, and the prosumers are basically the one who actually consumes as well as produce the energy, and one is just a consumer without any integration of the distributed energy resources. So while doing the study, we found out there are a lot of complex behavior that's happening inside the P2P model, like because the energy trading energy is a continuous feeding model. There is no any stopping or any break in between. So it's a very demanding and the complex uh, behavior that we are looking into. So while making while doing the study of these three participants, we found out that there is a high chance of occurrence of the conflict, like a consumer might get the energy from two other prosumers at the same time, which will eventually uh, mm, creates an ambiguity, uh, and which will actually distracts the scope of the energy trading model, because our main motive is to actually utilize and mobilize the energy as efficient and as precisely as possible to all of the consumers. So we want to make sure that energy reaches to the right person at right amount of time to the demand side of the energy market. So in order to tackle that conflict, we actually revised the model, and we made we created in such a way that there is one outstanding prosumer uh, who is actually doing all of the trading to the demand side of the energy. So what is an outstanding prosumer? So basically, outstanding prosumers are the one who is actually producing the highest amount of energy at that instance of time. So basically, who has the higher energy has the authority to distribute the energy to all other the consumer side of the energy market. And whenever the uh, energy gets deficit in the outstanding prosumer, it shall buy the the other surplus energy from the another array of the prosumers that's connected with that prosumer, right? Or it can the outstanding prosumer is not a fixed the fixed person or a fixed organization. It can change at any instance of time. Those who is actually producing the highest amount of energy is actually coming to that place at a regular basis and actually feeding the consumer side of the market. So finally, in case of there is an energy deficit also in the prosumer side of the um, model, then only the outstanding prosumer shall make an request to the utility grid in order to fulfill the demand side of the energy market. So this will actually be very beneficial in order to decrease the load in the utility grid and also decrease the power loss that happens from the utility grid in the while transferring the energy. Only when there is an uh, scarcity of energy in the prosumer side, then only the utility grid shall supply the energy to the market. So this will be actually beneficial in order to accelerate the sustainable energy culture in the energy market.
Hello, so this is Fahim Muntasir. So in this slide, we are talking about developing an appropriate pricing strategy that will benefit both consumers and consumers in this P2P process. The pricing method will be determined by the supply-demand ratio (SDR). The SDR is a term that used in economics to illustrate the relationship between supply, demand, and price. So before deriving the formula for SDR, we have to maintain the following functions. So the ratio of SDR is equal to total selling power divided by total buying power. Here TSP is the total selling power from the consumer and the TBP is the total buying power from the consumer. So TSP is the summation of negative net power. Here net power is the difference between total consumption and total production of the consumer. So when the production is higher than the consumption, there is excess energy available, so the consumer will be able to trade. So that's why total selling power is equal to minus NP is written in here. And the total buying power is the summation of total selling power from the consumer. So based on the above conditions, we can determine the internal buying price and selling price in here. So when the ratio of SDR is between 0 to 1, then the total internal selling price is this one and total internal buying price is this one. And when SDR equal to 1 or greater than 1, then both internal selling price and buying price will be equal to lambda cell. Here lambda cell is the rate of selling power for the consumer. So the consumer will sell some electricity to the grid based on some rate. This rate is considered as lambda cell in here. So this graph shows the relationship between the buying price and selling price. So when the ratio of SDR is between 0 to 0.9, then the buying price is a bit higher than the selling price because at this moment the consumption will be higher than the generation. That's why the customer has to buy the electricity at a bit higher rate. But as soon as the SDR reaches to 1, then both internal selling price and buying price will become equal. So based on the above formulas, we can just have a flow chart in here about the pricing strategy. So after retrieving the SDR from matchmaking, so when SDR equal to 0, set price is equal to lambda by. This is because when SDR equal to 0, there will be no P2P because there are no surplus energy available from the consumer. So both peers have to buy the electricity from the utility grid. That's why set price equal to lambda by. But when is there equal to 1 or is between 0 to 1, then the pricing strategy will be done as per the above formulas. So now a real-time data analysis of P2P will be conducted based on the above mathematical equations. To represent this scenario on real-time data, we have conducted a microgrid analysis in HomaPro software. So initially for the simplicity, we have considered only two prosumers and one consumer for the trading process. And one of the prosumer is equipped with wind turbine and another one with PV source. For the load consumption, we have collected monthly electricity bills from different residential houses in Bangladesh. By analyzing those bills, we have selected the average load consumption of the peers. And this is to be noted that currently the Bangladesh government do not have any FIT. So as there is no FIT, so we have considered that the lambda set is 4 taka per kilowatt hour for the case study. And the buying per lambda by is calculated as per the current unit price set by the Bangladesh government. So this is the single line diagram of the trading zone. As you can see that there are two consumers and one consumer in here, and all the transactions and billing will be done by this third party regulator. So when the consumer will sell electricity to the grid, it has to gone through by this third party regulator, and when consumer will buy electricity from the grid, the electricity has to come via this third party regulator. So overall total buying and selling power and the internal selling and buying mechanism will be validated and controlled by this third party agent. So this is one of the biggest advantage of this scheme, that the consumers and consumer do not have to engage or deal with the utility grid for their bills and other things. All the things are being taken care by this third party regulator. So now to define the internal buying price, we have collected the electricity bills of Bangladesh from different households. So the Bangladesh government has set a different electricity bill at different range of kilowatt hour. So after observation of multiple electricity bills, what we have seen that most of the houses in Bangladesh consume from 301 to 400 kilowatt hour per month. So that means in that range, the internal buying price will be considered as 6.34 taka per kilowatt hour. So after the simulation in HomeApro software, we have generated this graph. We have done the simulation in the month of July. The reason is why, because July is the hottest month of the year and it is considered one of the peak month in Bangladesh. So in that time, the consumption is higher than the generation. So it will be interesting to see that in the peak month, is there any P2P available or not. So by seeing this graph, what we can see that at certain hours of the day, both PV consumers and wind turbine consumers will be able to take part in the trading. As you can see that in these hours, the PV consumers is producing more power than the consumption. And in these hours, the wind turbine consumers is producing more than the consumption. So in these certain hours, both consumers will be able to take part in the trading with the consumer. So this is the 23 hours daily load profile of the consumer and consumer. So the board mark indicates that the consumers will have some surplus energy available. So as you can see that at 7 hours or from 9 to 14 hours, the PV consumers have some surplus energy available, hence they will be able to trade. Similarly, from 15 to 17 hours and from 21 to 23 hours, the wind turbine consumer has some energy left, some surplus energy left, so that they will be also able to trade with the other peers in those hours. So now we are going to determine the effectiveness of P2P. So after conducting the P2P trading in the above load profile, we can observe the reduction of utility bills and interaction with the utility grid of the consumer. So the first graph shows the reduction of utility bills. So as you can see that this blue line indicates the electricity bills per hour, but after the P2P has been implemented, we can see the reduction of the utility bills by a certain margin. Similarly, after the P2P has been implemented, we can see the reduction of with the utility grid as well. So as you can see that from these hours, the consumer is producing more than zero point 0.6 kilowatt. But after the P2P has been implemented, the consumer do not have to interact with the grid, because most of the power, all the power has been coming through the consumer in those hours. So this table shows the effectiveness in numbers. So the original bill per day was 41.66 taka for the consumer, and after the P2P has been implemented, the bill reduces to 34.35 taka, which is 17.54% less. And origin and exchange with the utility grid was 6.56 kilowatt per day, and after the introduction of P2P it reduces to 3.33 kilowatt, which is almost 50% less than the original. So these are some of the future works we are planning to do in 990B. The first one is developing an algorithm which shall be implemented in a proper blockchain stack technology. The complex logic of participants and financial transactions shall be formulated with smart contract technology. And the third and final one is a software shall be embedded in an appropriate hardware device for prototype testing. So the conclusion is we can utilize some of the surplus energy produced by the consumers in the P2P process, because if there is no P2P process available, the consumers have to dispatch this surplus energy to a dump load. And we have developed an internet pricing strategy that will benefit both buyers and sellers in the process. As you can see that the consumers will be able to reduce some electricity bills in the P2P process. We have also proposed self-optimization of electricity, because if peers have self-optimized their consumption and generation, more energy can be traded with each other. And last of all, the overall process has been controlled by third-party agents, so the peers do not have to worry about the energy transaction and the billing process. So thank you very much for listening. Hope you understand something. So if you have any question, please ask us. Thank you. Have a great day.